So let's be reminded that tangent is opposite over adjacent. So if I'm looking from angle X, I can see that the opposite side is 24 and the adjacent side is 32. So this would be tan X equals 24 over 32. So let's make sure your mode is degrees. And you should get about 37 degrees. So you have to do tan -1. Okay, so it's second tan, and then you type in 24 divided by 32, and then you hit enter and you should get about 36.7. I'm sorry, 36.9, which is about 37 degrees. All right, for sin, same thing. You're looking from C. Remember, sin is opposite over hypotenuse. So this is opposite, and this is hypotenuse. So this would be second sin, or sin -1, parentheses 21 over 35. Second sin, 21 divided by 35. And again, you should get about 36.9. All right, and this is degrees. All right, the next one, we're looking here, we want cosine. Remember, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. We're looking from angle C. So adjacent is here, hypotenuse is here. So cosine of C equals 18 over 30. So you're going to do -1. So second cosine, 18 divided by 30, and you should get about 53.1. Okay, so that's kind of an idea of how to do page 16. You want to go ahead and complete the entire page. Again, first you find the ratio, whatever the ratio is, and remember we learned so, ka, toa. Sine, cosine, tangent. All right, moving forward. Today we're going to expand on what we know. So let's just call this a 3, 4, 5 triangle. And if I'm looking for from angle A, what side is opposite angle A? We would say side 3. What side is adjacent 4? And the hypotenuse will always be the longest side or the side across from the right angle. Quick review. All right, so let's look at SOHCAHTOA. And let's focus on sine and cosine first. So once again, when we're looking at the sine of A, we're looking at opposite over hypotenuse. So if we're here at A, this is opposite, this is hypotenuse. If we're looking at the cosine of A, the cosine is going to be the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. And please remember the hypotenuse is always the side across from the right angle. Okay, so you can see kind of how the different ratios are going to be set up. So in order to use your calculator, you all need to make sure you put the mode in degrees and then hit enter. So do that before, otherwise you'll get decimal answers and it won't make any sense. So we want to look for the sine of 50. So when you type in your calculator, you're going to literally hit SIN, the black button in the middle. You're going to type in 50, close parentheses, and hit enter. And you should get a ratio of 0.766. Okay. Cosine of 50. You should get 0.643. Now, if you're looking for the angle measure, this is when you have to hit second first. So you hit second sin, and then type in whatever you have. And you should see sin to the -1 when you type it in. So let's hit second sin, and you hit 0.5, close parentheses, and hit enter. So this should be 30, and this is going to be degrees. Anytime you're looking for the angle, it's going to be in degrees. So for number 4, you're going to hit second sin, 0.2588, close parentheses, hit enter, and you should get about 14.99, which is about 15 degrees for this one. All right, that's how you use your calculator. Now that we know how to use our calculator and all this fun stuff, now we're going to go ahead and solve some problems related to this. So for each, you're going to round to 4 decimal places. So I want to find what is the sin of A. So remember, sin is opposite over hypotenuse. So if I'm looking from A, opposite is 3, hypotenuse is 5. So I have to hit second sin, 3 divided by 5 in parentheses, and you should get about 36.9. And that's in degrees. So this is 36.9 degrees. Now if I want the cosine of B, remember cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And this is going to be kind of interesting because adjacent to B is 3, and the hypotenuse is 5. So you're going to hit cosine, second cosine, so it should be cosine negative 1, 3 over 5 in parentheses. You should get 53.1. And what you should notice is when you add 36.9 plus 53.1, you should get 90 degrees. And you do, because 90 plus 90 is 100. All right, so what do you notice about the values you found in question number 1 and 2? Well, what you should notice is that the ratios are the same, but the angles are different. Okay, and that's the difference between looking at the sine or the cosine. So let's see, what do we notice? Let's look at sine of Q. So again, we're looking from Q, and we want sine. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite Q is 5, and the hypotenuse is 13. So we're going to hit sine, second sine, 5 divided by 13 in parentheses, and hit enter, and you should get 22.6. Again, if you're not getting these answers, you might want to check the mode, which is at the very next to the second button, and make sure you're in degrees. Finally, we're looking at the cosine of S. So I'm looking from S. Cosine, again, is adjacent over hypotenuse. So the adjacent side is 5, and the hypotenuse is 13. Again, the ratios are the same, but you're going to notice different angle measures. So if I hit second cosine, 5 divided by 13, close my parentheses, you get 67.4. And when you add these two angles together, they should equal 90 degrees, and they do. All right, so what do we notice about the measures, the values we found in questions 1 and 2? Well, again, they add to form 90 degrees. So these added to form 90 degrees, and these add to form 90 degrees. And what else do we notice? That the ratios are the same, but the angle measures are different. All right, so now we're going to learn how to use these same ratios to find side lengths. So this time we have angle measures, but we want to know what the side lengths are. So I'm looking for this. I'm looking from this angle. I always circle the angle that I'm looking from. This is my opposite side, and this is my hypotenuse. So number 1, circle angle. 2, label sides. 3, trig ratio. 4, slope. Okay, so the trig ratio that we're looking for is, we've got opposite hypotenuse. So it's sin 42 equals x over 75. Okay. Now for this problem, I'm actually going to type in my calculator. To solve this, I would multiply both sides by 75. So to solve this in the calculator, you're literally going to type in 75 times sin 42 and hit equals. So my calculator, I type in 75 sin 42 equals. And you should get about 50.2. So this side is 50.2. Now to check your work to make sure that it's correct, you want to make sure the hypotenuse is always going to be the longest side. So if you got an answer larger than 75, you would have known that you did this incorrectly. Okay? So again, here are your steps. All right? And this is solve for the missing side. So let's look at the second problem. First thing, I'm going to circle my angle. So I'm here at 42. Now I got to label my sides. So this is adjacent and this is hypotenuse. So now I'm looking at cosine of 42 is going to equal x over 75. So this time I'm going to multiply both sides by 75 so I can undo it from this side. So in my calculator I'm going to type in 75 cosine 42 and hit equals. You should get about 55.7. So does it make sense for this side to be 55.7? Yes, it does. Let's look on to number 3. Again, the first step is going to be to circle the angle. Then I'm going to label my sides. Well, this is opposite. This is hypotenuse. This time I'm looking for an angle, not a side. So this time I'm going to type in opposite and hypotenuse is sin. Sin of x equals 62 over 87. Because I'm looking for an angle, I have to do second sin. 62 divided by 87, close parentheses, and hit enter. And this is an angle measure, so x is going to equal 45.5 degrees. So this is almost a 45, 45, 90, that special relationship we learned about. Okay, for number 4, again, I'm going to circle the angle and label my sides. This is adjacent and hypotenuse. So adjacent is cosine. Adjacent over hypotenuse, 62 over 71. And remember, this is going to be -1 because I'm looking for an angle, so I have to hit second cosine. 62 divided by 71. You should get x equal to 29.2. And this is degrees because I was looking for an angle. And that's almost a 30, 60, 90 triangle, just saying, but it's not quite exactly. Okay, I'm going to stop the video at this point, and you're going to go ahead and rewind if you need to get all the information. And then I'm going to come back and show you how to do tangent ratios. So this was sine and cosine, opposite over hypotenuse and adjacent over hypotenuse. Come back for the second video where I'll show you the tangent ratio. Remember, when you're looking for an angle, you have to hit second, sin, and then put this in parentheses. When you're looking for a side length, you'll notice that this was a multiplication problem. So we just typed it in our calculator as it was.